and I'm going to be telling you a bit about my coding project, which is particle burst or fireworks. So this project was originally designed to be part of the all-school dance concert in the fall, and it was a pre-concert projection, so it would play with the music before the show. So this is what it looks like. It consists of these fireworks, and essentially how these work is there's particles and those get sent out and create these paths. And this is interactive with the dance concert because when there's a louder sound, for example, when I snap by the microphone, more of the fireworks will generate. So going into the code a bit, this starts with this particle burst setup, and kind of simple here, the setup, it declares the microphone for the sound and the input, and then in the draw state, it creates this generate variable, which is dependent on level, and the level is dependent on the sound that it gets from the microphone up here. So it's sort of saying that when the generate is within certain ranges, it'll create more or less bursts, which are the fireworks that display on the screen. And when there's no sound, it'll still generate them, just at a slower rate. So these bursts are part of the burst class here, and those come with the hue or the color, the X origin, the Y origin, an array list of particles, which I'll get to in a second, a burst radius, which is like the size they are, and a Boolean for alive. And that alive Boolean allows them to disappear after a little bit so they don't just stay on the screen. So this burst constructor, and it talks about the color. So there's a thing called current color, which is the sort of cycle of colors. So you'll see that when these are running, they cycle through the rainbow. So it goes from this red color to orange and yellow, green, and there goes sort of circles back. I took out blue and purple because those were too dark to appear on the projection. So you can see here, it randomly assigns an X and Y position for the burst from which the burst originates, and it randomly assigns a radius within a certain range, so they're not too big or too small. And then it creates an array list of particles, and each particle has the same origin and hue, and that's what allows the fireworks to maintain this sort of consistent position. They start from one place and then expand out, and each firework contains the same color, but different fireworks on the screen can have different colors. And then there's this show bursts case, which talks about, sort of goes through the particles, and that's essentially saying that when the distance between, or the distance that the particles expand is greater than the burst radius, which is the randomly assigned size up here, then they'll disappear so that they don't stay on the screen. And then finally, the particles class. So each firework consists of individual particles that you can see in some of them because they move at different speeds, and those particles all move out. So particles are at the origin, so they all start at the origin, and they have a different color. That's the hue. And then when they're displayed, the hue sort of changes and the brightness changes. So they fade from dark to bright, so the least saturated to most saturated, so you get this cool effect of them expanding out, and it looks like they're sort of growing with intensity. And that's accomplished through this brightness variable, which allows me to control how strong that color is. So then the particles accelerate using p-vectors, which allow me to control the magnitude and direction of sort of the speed of the particles. It acts as a vector in the code, so it has a magnitude and direction, and I can control that and add acceleration, which makes it easy to sort of create this effect of an arc, because I can have the acceleration acting down on it, so you get these sort of arc shapes for them, so it looks like the particles can fall down on the screen. And then I have here finally the position. It's added to velocity, which allows the particles, the velocity is added to position, which allows the particles to move, and there's a current position, it has a previous position that updates that you can still see the particles on the screen, but they fade once the whole firework fades. So I hope that was interesting. You learned a bit about my program there. Thank you so much for watching.